Your retirement is your responsibility. And I don't know about you, I want my retirement to be my responsibility, right? Because I think that I can put money away in a way that a pension fund manager is not going to, right? A pension fund manager is on average going to make about 6, 7, 8% on your money. Long-term rates of return on the stock market have been 10+%, right? Well, if I can just put my money in an index fund and allow it to grow over time and allow it to grow in a way that it's not going to be taxable to me later on via a Roth account, or take some tax deductions today and it be taxable later via traditional IRAs or things like that, then that may be what's more beneficial for me anyway, right? So I don't feel bad that pensions aren't out there as much anymore, but you have to understand, as somebody who may work for a corporation who does have a defined benefit pension, that pension could go away. Or as somebody whose pension's been recently taken away, you need to understand that it's time to take your retirement into your own hands. Or if you're somebody who doesn't even know, right? You don't know what you need to be doing. You need to understand that you still have to take things into your own hands. You need to be investing for your own retirement, regardless of what you're offered. You need to be taking it into your own control. So what is the reality of today's retirement, right? Well, it really comes down to fending for yourself, as I've been talking about, right? When it comes to a financially secure retirement, you need to fend for yourself. For most, Social Security benefits are not enough to live on. And I'll just tell you, they are not enough to live on. I've seen people's Social Security benefits. It's not enough, right? The first thing you need to do is save money as soon and as much as you can. And we've talked about starting early and why starting early is so important when it comes to your retirement investing. But you need to start early and you need to be investing as much as you can. Now, I've given you the financial action plan to kind of walk you through how much you should be investing that should get you to a good place in your financial life and long-term financial freedom. But to invest as much as you can over the long term is the best way to go. Now, how can you invest? Well, we've talked about all these things, but I want to just hit on them real quick. That way you can understand where your money should be going if you can't rely on some pension. And even if you have one, you shouldn't be relying on one. But where does your money need to go? Right? You can start with your tax advantage retirement plans. Okay. Now, I've told you before, and I tell you within the financial action plan, if you have a match offered to you by an employer, take that match. Okay, because if you have a match, that's a 100% return on your money immediately, right? As soon as you put money in, it is doubled, okay, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so start with a 401k, 403b, TSP, any type of employer-sponsored retirement plan that allows you to have a match where the employer puts money into, right? And take that match. And that is the third part of the financial action plan, right? After we create a unique monthly budget and we build up a starter emergency fund of 1 month of expenses, right? Then we get to a point where we can begin taking that match. Now, once we're out of debt, right? And then once we have a fully funded emergency fund, then we can get into a place where we are ratcheting up that savings. So you take the match, and that's regardless of if you've got debt paid off or not or whatever, right? You're going to take the match. You have to take the match because it is free money. But once you take that match, then you have a lot more choices, right? You can actually choose where to put your money otherwise. You don't have to just keep feeding the 401k or the 403b or whatever, but you could choose to do so, okay? So you start with that match, right? Then you would take a look at, okay, do I have access to anything Roth, right? Do I have something that is Roth related? Can I access a Roth 401k? Or do I have access to a Roth IRA? Now, the reason to ask this is because for most people, Roth can be extremely beneficial because you get to retirement, right? And you have to pay no taxes on the money that you take out of your Roth accounts, which is extremely beneficial. And a lot of people don't want to pay taxes in retirement, right? And you want to keep as much money as you can from your investments. That is a great way to do so, okay? So you would look and you would go, okay, can I contribute to a Roth IRA? And if the answer is yes, then I would absolutely do that, right, up to the maximum that you can put in there. Because if you can put money into a Roth IRA, you can choose what it's invested in, and you can keep it in a Roth IRA with your own control over it. And that's just invaluable, right? Try to max that out as much as possible. And then you can look and say, okay, well, there's the Roth IRA. Do I have a Roth 401k available to me? If your employer-sponsored retirement account is also Roth, then you can start putting money into that Roth 401k. Now, if you are not able to contribute to a Roth IRA because you make too much money, guess what? You can put money into a Roth 401k, which is fantastic. And not only can you put money into a Roth 401k, those have higher contribution limits than IRAs anyway, right? So you can put money into the Roth 401k. And then look at your traditional accounts. your traditional IRA or traditional 401k. Those are tax advantage vehicles and better than nothing, but they take a backseat to any Roth money that you put away. And then eventually when you're maxing everything out, if you need to go to a brokerage account, you want to do some bridge investing meaning maybe you want to retire before you can get your hands on your tax advantage retirement accounts, right? Then you may want to do a little bridge investing into a taxable brokerage account where you can get a hold of that money whenever you need it. Okay, so you can do all those things and put money away in those ways, and that'll really help you out and help you to push towards long-term financial freedom. Basically, if you just follow the financial action plan that I have laid out for you, you can absolutely get to where you need to be. But those are just specific account types that you can have. Now, also, when you're investing, right, I'm not telling you how to invest, but I'll just tell you this. Over the long term, the stock market wins. Okay? And over the long term, stock market returns have been better than bond market returns, right? They're way better than any savings account you have. They're way better than any CD you have, right? They're comparable with real estate, right? With rental properties. So that may be something that you're more interested in, but at the same time, you may not get as much in the way of tax advantages, even though tax advantages are there for real estate as well. But those may go away given the looming tax plan by the Biden administration. We just don't know. Okay, but regardless, right? The stock market has won over time. Okay, so if you're trying to choose investments within the IRA, 401k, all these types of things, if you can fall back on index funds, we talked about index funds last week. I think index funds are a great choice. A lot of my money goes into index funds, and I know that the stock market has won over the long term. Right, so diversified groups of companies, diversified groups of publicly traded companies will win over time. And so that's what I'm betting on. You can bet on whatever you want to, but you need to make adequate returns within these accounts, right? If you're not going to get this pension, right, and a pension fund manager would be trying to make 6, 7, 8%, right? Go into the market and try to make more than 8%. Right? Go into the market and try to make the most in the way of returns you can. Now, that doesn't mean doing any speculating. You need to be investing. Right? You need to be putting money away into assets that are going to appreciate in a reasonable manner over time.